Welcome, everybody, to the LinkedIn for B2B Growth Show. I'm your host, Michelle J. Raymond, and I'm joined by a bit of a superstar on LinkedIn, Isabella. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Michelle. I'm super grateful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, today, I've narrowed this down to ChatGPT instead of AI in general, because this conversation is so big and it's just a topic that is top of mind for everybody right now. But I want to talk specifically to your experience with ChatGPT or similar tools and LinkedIn and how we can use the two of them together. Now, for anybody that's listening in, if you are looking for a way to shortcut, to spam comments, to circumnavigate good practices and ethics of building relationships, this is not the show for you. You should leave now. I have Isabella on here because I love the way that she uses it, because she truly delivers value. So I'm going to jump into my questions now, Isabella. What are the key features and capabilities of ChatGPT that really make it a game changer for businesses on LinkedIn? So let's start with that. Assume people don't know what it is, and we'll jump into it from there.
Absolutely. In terms of like ChatGPT and using it for LinkedIn or business growth, the best thing that I have found that has been useful for me and working with more people and stuff like that, the first thing has been actually doing a little bit of market research. So I'll use this prompt that I have. But basically, it's like act as a digital marketing strategies. We're going to create an audience persona, and we're going to include pain points, desires, buying behaviors, anything else that you want to learn about. And you just say, we're going to create a marketing strategy off of that. And then you just prompt it to see what it comes up with. And it'll tell you, at the end of the day, we know that people buy based off of emotion, right? And then rationalize it with logic. So that's why I go more for like the pain points, wants, and buying behaviors, because it's telling me directly, okay, these are things that that's keeping them up at night. You can even include that, like what's keeping them up at night, and it'll tell you. That's things that they're actively thinking about. These are things that now you can come up with content to solve those problems. And even like buying behaviors, if it tells you that this type of prospect will actually want to buy something because if they see a checklist, then that tells you, hey, you should probably create a checklist as part of your assets. So in that sense, it's been really helpful. But one thing that I would like to highlight is that a lot of people are using the key features of ChatGPT. Another one is the copywriting. A lot of people are just copy and pasting whatever ChatGPT creates. And I think it's just like really important to just highlight really quick that just because ChatGPT is writing something doesn't mean that you should copy and paste it and call it a day. Everything that it's creating, especially right now that it's not like 100% human like just yet, it has gotten better traction when I'll use ideas, right? It'll be like a huge brainstorm. Like it's 100% me and ChatGPT just having a marketing meeting and chatting back and forth about ideas. But then I just figure out how to tailor it to my experience with that subject that I feel other people might find insightful or helpful.
So I was just talking to Michelle Griffin, my bestie, just before this, and we did a podcast episode on our podcast just in December, and I wasn't even using ChatGPT, hadn't logged in, hadn't looked at it. And then she had to have a laugh at just how much and how quickly it's become part of my business. I kind of look at it, it's like your dance partner, but you've got to take the lead. This thing just doesn't magically pop up with answers. You have to ask intelligent questions, which we're going to save that to the end. So if you want to know how to ask ChatGPT the best questions, we've got that coming up towards the end of the half an hour. So stick around. But what I've found is that a lot of people think that ChatGPT should spit out facts. Can you explain how ChatGPT actually brings answers to life?
Yeah, so it's trained on a lot of data. ChatGPT 3.5 versus ChatGPT 4. The amount of data that it's been trained on is like insane. I remember seeing like this graphic that 3.5 was like this little tiny circle, and I think it was even like in the billions. Versus ChatGPT 4, it was like this massive circle. Yeah, it was like huge, and it was like in the trillions, right? So it's been trained on a lot of stuff that's already out there. It's common knowledge, whatever's on the internet. There has been a lot of advancements, but it was up till I think December 2021 that it was limited. But if like right now I'm on the pro plan and I just got access to like their beta features, and now you can search the web with ChatGPT, right? So every day it's changing more and more, but the way that it works is it was trained on this information. So then it's predicting the text, right? It's essentially a conversational chatbot. It's predicting the text of what it predicts it would say next based on all of the information that it's learned. So it's a little bit of a trip, right? Because everybody thinks, oh, it's imagining, but it's predicting.
I think it's crazy. At first, I thought it was like getting answers from the internet. And then I was wrong and I had to learn that's not how it actually works. And then I realized it's only as good as the questions that I asked. And then I realized I wasn't very good at asking questions. I assume so much knowledge when I was typing it in, and it requires so many specifics. But there's also parts of it that I have found that have really helped me on LinkedIn. So for me personally, I have used it, because at the end of the day, if I look at it, I'm a business owner. My background is in B2B sales. I have had to learn so many things as a business owner. And that includes copywriting in all different kinds of styles, writing LinkedIn profiles, writing headlines, writing podcast show notes. Like there's so many things that I have to write, sales pages. And I wasn't trained in any of that. Being able to have someone to bounce this off, and in this case, it's ChatGPT, has been pretty amazing to me. But how do you think people can save time on LinkedIn by using this?
So many ways to say. And even what you were just saying, even like with your profile optimization, that alone, like it can help you ideate what your banner should be or what your about me should be. And again, it's ideas, right? Then you have to tailor it with your own human experience, and that's what's going to resonate. But it can help with so many things, even like, for example, carousels, right? Those like PDF documents that are all over LinkedIn. These are like the best ways for growth right now. And even for that, you can use ChatGPT to help you brainstorm what the contents should be. It's like you said, like it all comes down to the prompts and being specific in what you want. Even other components of LinkedIn, it could be like, for example, your landing pages, your book a call funnel. Depending on the platforms that you're using, it'll even create SOPs so that you don't necessarily have to do it. You could assign it to a VA or someone else to do it for you. And I've also played around a little bit with Sales Navigator, like asking ChatGPT what triggers it thinks I should, based on my audience persona, what triggers I should be putting into my sales nav. Yeah, it's really like an assistant, right? You just and that's like my experience with it. Everything that I started doing, I just started asking myself, oh, I wonder what ChatGPT has to say about this. And it just became a habit of, let me just test, let me just ask and see what it comes up with. So it's a continuous learning experience.
I think what you prompted there is actually it's curiosity. It's about being willing to play around with it. It's around not thinking I've got the answer. It has to be one particular way. Or I think you made a comment just the other day that the first answer isn't necessarily the best answer. ChatGPT, that's the starting point. And then it literally is like a conversation backwards and forwards. So I've found it in different ways, especially with about sections, to try and get different words so things sound different, and also just to check my writing. And that for me has been so helpful because sometimes, I don't know, we get lost in our own head, and it's nice to have something else to bounce off, especially in areas that we're not experts in. So I think there's so many different ways that we're just exploring. If anybody that's listening in has found some creative ways that you use it with LinkedIn, share it in the comments. As a community, let's all learn together. That would be amazing. So it's saving time. And I think sometimes, to be fair, it takes me longer to write the prompts than sometimes it would if I just did it myself. I get stuck in that rabbit hole of trying to make it come up with an answer that I think will be better than me. And then I've spent far more time and I should have backed myself. So I think there's both elements of that. Have you found that as well, even with what you do and how much you play with it?
Absolutely. But I think this is like because it's in the beginning stages. If you know that what you're using it and you find a successful use case through either your own experience or just chatting with the community, depending on what use cases you're using, you can always save those prompts. And it's like a prompt database that you start building internally. If you're doing anything like testing with it and spending more time than you would have doing the actual task, it's just part of learning. And it's just, you just say, okay, I could have done that better. And maybe right now it's not at max capacity. It's still very early on. So I think that's like the novelty of it as well. But just figuring out, okay, you did it once, how can you do it better? And then what can you optimize? And do you actually want to waste time with this moving forward or just use it for other things?
I think that's probably a good lesson in life personally. Like play around, test, optimize, come back, have another go. And persistence pays off. I think you're living proof that persistence to find better ways to do things is it. And I loved, there's so many tips that you've given me, but I love what you did a carousel on how to create carousels. I think it was a little while back. and how to integrate that with Canva. And I love that we're starting to see ChatGPT is integrating, say, with Zapier or Descript or all of these other tools that we've got as content creators around us. And we're only just beginning that little piece of the journey. And that's what I'm super excited to see. I've found some cool tools that I've been using, like Summarize or Memento or Swell AI, that are taking clips out of my podcast to be able to just really save me time as a creator to pull out the best bits, because it literally, in some ways, often sees things that I can't see because I'm too close to it. And so it's been cool to test these things and see how quickly the creators of these tools are evolving the tools. It's just mind blowing how quickly everything's moving. Let's talk about quality for a minute. How can people use ChatGPT, or is there particular prompts you would recommend that can improve the quality of what we've already created? Say I've got maybe a LinkedIn post. Is there things that I can do in ChatGPT that will improve it?
Yes. So this is a really good question, because the first thing that you can do is, if you go back to like in the beginning when I was talking about like the audience persona prompt, you can even say your role, for example, right? Act as a, I don't know, Fortune 500 marketer. What are key insights that would be beneficial to share to my ideal audience, or whatever the case is, right? And then you say, do not hallucinate, because you don't want it to give you like random data, fictional, you want factual. So in that aspect, it could definitely improve all of our marketing efforts, because now we're going more for stuff that's useful and not just generic stuff that sometimes misses the mark. And I think also from the angle of lead magnets, the ebooks, the checklist, the webinars, even courses, anything like that, it's very beneficial. How else can it improve? One thing that you can do is you can ask it to analyze your copy, take a bunch of your best performing posts, and just take a bunch of copy and paste a bunch of data into it and just say, analyze the style of writing. What are some key insights? The other day I copied a post including the entire comments section. And I was prompting it to do social listening, to just read all the comments and tell me in a couple bullet points, what is it that people are asking about this?
I had some fun with this. So a friend of mine, Neil Veglio, who will be listening into the podcast, I said that I could create a post that sounded like him, and he has a particular unique style. I could get ChatGPT to really sound pretty close to him. And so what I did is I took half a dozen of his posts, asked ChatGPT to learn this particular style, and then we wrote a post on a topic which I know he always likes, which is about don't get a Blue Yeti microphone, just for the record. And so we played around with it. And funny enough, it was pretty close. There was one particular saying in it that wasn't all that. And he's like, I've never said that in a million years. I say, well, can you go and use it now so it's right? But ultimately, it was just scary how close that it got to him on one try. And I am certainly not an expert at this kind of stuff, but that for me has been the way that I've been able to tailor some of the stuff that I do, especially when I'm writing content for company pages. And they're not always areas that I'm an expert in for some of the companies that I help, but it's about how can we have some fun with this. I've even got ChatGPT to have some fun and create some poems and songs and stupid things like that. But it's creative and it stands out. And I just flag it and say, this is what we were doing. But it's just really been so much fun to have that kind of stuff. With that, what I want to have a look at is let's talk about prompts. What are your best tips about prompts?
So with the prompts, what I have found has been really helpful is give it like some sort of command, like act as a X, Y, and Z. Just give it a role. And you'd be surprised. Like I've asked it to act as like a social seller. I've asked it to act as like a TikToker, right? Like whatever it is you're doing. But I always go for the best of that, right? So act as a TikTok expert. Or the other day I asked it for a business analysis, like act as my business consultant. And from there, then you give it a little bit of context. Like, okay, we're going to create X, Y, and Z. And then you start giving it like the tasks, right? This is what we're going to do. If the prompt is too long, I think they're called mega prompts. And you start getting into the more advanced prompts, you might have to tweak some things a little bit until you get it to work perfectly fine. What I have discovered is sometimes I'll just break it down into like smaller prompts, because I also want to see what it comes up with and then start tweaking it from there and then fixing my prompt. But one of the best things that you can also do is you can just ask ChatGPT, act as a prompt engineer, and I need to figure out X, Y, and Z. what do you need from me to put the prompt together? And then you both create the prompt with the assistance of ChatGPT. And then you tell it like, okay, you create what you think is going to work well. And then you just say, optimize my prompt. And then it'll give you like a better prompt than what you had. So it's very much just figure out what use case and what your end goal is and reverse engineer it. And if you get stuck, just ask ChatGPT for help.
I can't believe that you can ask it to almost how you can use it better. Ask it directly how to be a better prompter. Like, how amazing is that? It's almost like an inbuilt help desk. The things for me, I've played around with the act as, and I'm going to add on the expert from now on and just see if it levels up. I've had some fun around that. Where I've found it really good is there's one part of creating content when it's mostly my YouTube videos or podcast episode titles. I hate coming up with titles. It is my least favorite thing. So sometimes what I've done is asked it to act as like a YouTube expert to come up with a headline. Is there any other way that I could phrase that maybe I'll get a better response? Do you keep it simple? Because sometimes I try and think I overcomplicate it and then it just confuses the thing. So is more better or is less better?
Yeah, for YouTube headlines, I've used act as a YouTube expert or YouTube strategist. And then I'll just say, I'll either prompt it for like a viral style headline, a compelling headline, engaging headline, clickbait style headline, curiosity headline, stuff like that. And then I take it one step further. And then once I get my list of 10 headlines or whatever, I then say, can you rank it from 1 to 10 and tell me which one's going to resonate the most with my target audience or which one's going to have the most viral potential? And then it'll say a one-line disclaimer of, I don't know, I can't tell you if it's going to go viral, but it'll still give you like the 1 to 10. And usually it ends up being like the one that I think is going to perform the best. It's usually like one of the ones that I already had a feeling it was going to be it, but it's nice to have that second opinion, that, hey, that probably will perform better.
Oh my God, you've just given me a way to level up because I say give it 10 ideas. I don't say put them in order. I just say give me 10 or whatever the magic number is. And so now that I know that I should go the next step, and I think this is where communication in life in general just comes into play. We realize how much we assume other people already know. And then you realize when you're talking to something that takes you so literal, just how many pieces of the puzzle we leave out. And I'm sure there's some marketers nodding their head going, yeah, Michelle, have you ever received a brief from someone? And then you realize just how much context is missing because ChatGPT for me needs context. And the more that you can give it, and I've just learned so much, like you have no idea how much that little advice that you just threw in there is going to change the output that I get. And this is why, again, people go to Isabella's profile. Now, the last time I was there was also a link where they could go and join your community and get access to your database of all of these prompts. Like I went in there and saw them and my mind was blown. Everybody go to Isabella's profile. It is honestly just mind blowing the amount of things that you've been able to put together that have helped so many other people, which is why I'm so grateful that you're here today so that we can talk about it. Prompting, if you get stuck, the answer is ask ChatGPT for some help. And does this apply, like, have you experimented with like options like Bard or the alternatives to ChatGPT? Does the same apply across the board?
With Bard, I haven't really played with too much. I just did whenever I got access to it, I just asked it some prompts and it was very generic. Like ChatGPT also, if you say, hey, we're going to create a marketing strategy, then it tells you like, okay, we're going to
ideal client.
Yeah, it's like that is not useful. But so it's very generalized. I haven't played too much with Bard, but I do hear that there's a lot of improvements happening. So I'll definitely have to spend a little bit more time. But as of right now, I've just really been enjoying ChatGPT, and ChatGPT 4 is also, it's the drawback is that you can only do 25 prompts in 3 hours and it takes a little bit longer for it to come up with output, but it's also been really amazing in comparison to 3.5.
It is something, as I said, I'm still playing around with and trying to put some systems in place because what I found in the beginning was I was typing the same prompts in today's request, in tomorrow's request, in the 3 weeks. So I found myself repeating things. So I love that you've got like a process and a system for saving those so that we don't have to hit repeat all the time and waste time. because I do find a lot of the tasks that I have in my business are repeatable. They might be a different scenario, different day, different topic, but the ultimate outcome is probably pretty similar. So there's been so many ways that when it comes to LinkedIn specifically for me, that I've been able to just lift my game. Now, I don't think that there's anybody out there that's going, oh, Michelle, I can tell that this wasn't your post or this was your post, because I don't let it be that different to me. At the end of the day, I'm building my brand. I want people to recognize Michelle J. Raymond is showing up day after day. But I want to give my audience as a creator the best version of me possible. And I think it is that human plus AI, when they dance together, I take the lead, you follow. But when you can marry those two things up, that's where it's been really cool. But beyond ChatGPT, because, what other AI is out there when it comes to LinkedIn, when we're trying to grow our business? What other types of AI do you think we should keep an eye on?
This is a great question. My personal favorite right now is Synthesia. So Synthesia, you can create like AI avatars. They already have like voices. Like you can pick the voices and the characters that you want. And they look human. It's actually funny because I did this video. I used ChatGPT to put together this like manifesto. I picked this random person from the AI avatars, and then I posted the video on LinkedIn. And I was like, "What do you guys think? Is this real or not?" And then it was funny because there was one girl that was like, "Is this guy single?" And I'm like, "It's an avatar."
I actually saw online the other day that people are dating things like this. They're now not even real partners. Yeah, they're AI partners inbuilt with all of this kind of predict language that can answer. And people are in relationships with avatars. So things are getting a little weird when we go down that path, but I love that we can use it for marketing.
Yeah, because immediately with Synthesia, they can do a personalized clone of you. But I think that's really cool because there goes your product demos. And right now, if you do a product demo and you use Synthesia like AI avatars, it's not going to be your face, so people might not recognize it. But if you're using your own clone, that's going to be next level. There's your training videos, your product demos. Imagine your TikTok videos even being AI avatars that look like you. Oh my. I think that's really cool. I know there's like conversational chatbots. I know there's a lot of things happening in healthcare and a lot of different industries. Even one of the people that works in my team, his name is Mike, and he was just sharing with me how basically we could build a knowledge base and then automate it so when people write to us and they say certain keywords, this AI bot just replies. And it sounds very conversational. So I was really impressed by that. And I think the best way that I could put it is that, and this is one of my friends, he says it all the time, like he says AI is in everything and everywhere. So I think that's what it is. His name's Patrick, and he's super, super knowledgeable about AI development and stuff like that. And it was just really interesting because the more that I started talking to him and getting to know how much impact it can have in every industry, it's literally like in every single department that you can think of. Every single thing that we think right now is our jobs or whatever it might be, it can have some capacity be impacted by AI. Which makes sense why the news is saying like 300 million jobs are on the line and that kind of a little bit of fear there. But yeah, it's really just in everything.
Look, you can tell, just jump onto an e-commerce website and see how much retargeting goes on around the place. When you walk into a supermarket and they're saying, hey, buy this product, it's on special because you've used your loyalty card before and they know what you bought. There's so many different ways that this is showing up to help us. I think there's going to be a lot of advancements in life and there's going to be a lot of things that fall by the wayside. I think that's just how life goes. But ultimately, I think we've just covered as much ground as we possibly can in the last 30 minutes. Now, there is so much more that we could dig into this. And the thing that I want to tell people is Isabella is putting a course together. I am going to put the details for that into the show notes, into the comments. But basically, if you want to jump on the wait list, she's going to take care of you all. This is something where you get to dive deeper into it. And she's been busting her butt to make sure this is an amazing product. So we always finish the show, Isabella, with an actionable tip. We've covered so much ground here, but for people that are listening in that want to get more out of LinkedIn using ChatGPT, what's the best tip that you can give them?
Ooh, that's a good one. The best tip, I think it's definitely going to be just start posting. So if you can write a post today, and even if you use ChatGPT to help you and then you tailor it and personalize it so it sounds like you and your own expert insights and stuff like that, it's really interesting. I can't stress it enough how much opportunity comes from just building a personal brand. And we might not know it and we might bang our heads against the wall because it takes too long. But if we're talking about doing IPAs every day, like income producing activities every day, even though building a personal brand is not always instant ROI, it is the one of the biggest levers for your success, whether it takes 3 months, 6 months, a year, even 5 years, right? Especially on the LinkedIn platform where they're starting to push out creators. This is the best thing you can do. So yeah, I would encourage you to go to ChatGPT and come up with a couple of posts and just start posting.
And if you want to know how to build your brand on LinkedIn, ta-da, I wrote a book with Michelle Griffin. This will get you started. It's everything I wish I knew. Isabella, this has been amazing. Thank you for sharing. Again, anybody that's listening in, you want to make sure you go to her profile, click on that bell. It's underneath the banner in the top right-hand corner. You do not want to miss it because day after day, there is just so much inside knowledge and so much research that's gone into what might look like a fun and simple carousel. But if you actually scroll across, you're going to get a masterclass. And so I appreciate you, Isabella. I wish you every success. You have earned it, my friends. Thank you to everybody that listens into the podcast as well. I appreciate all of you, and I'm looking forward to the show again next week. So cheers.
Thank you for having me and thank you for watching.